where do you even start? I mean, being a black man, it's tough. It's not. It's all based on the nuances that are being generally, thrown around in the spaces that we find ourselves in. But to say complexities, I think we've separated ourselves from that, from the complexity of being black and being a man.
Hi guys, welcome back to
Colloquy Sessions,
episode 3.
So today, guys, we are talking about a I think close to the heart conversation, based on just how the world has been functioning in relation to men, and how women and children have been affected by it, but most importantly, conduct. Today we are unmasking masculinity, and I am not alone. I am with our guest, Tabang Mukwate. Tabang Mukwate, I got it right. Third is a charm. Third is a charm. We are with Tabang Mukwate, and I am alongside my queen,
Nelisiwe Zwane Kandlovu. It's a very, very close topic. It's close to my heart, especially. I've been wanting to address it. I've been wanting to talk to our men because I feel like we always have a stereotype conversation around masculinity where it always ends up being a back and forth between men and women. Absolutely. But we never actually take time to actually talk to men. And thank you, Tabang, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Tabang is a very busy man, guys, so it's really hard to
pin him
down. It was for him to be here. It's such an honor, and we are so grateful.
I'm not that busy. I'm not that busy.
Brilliant.
I'm busy, but I'm not that busy. Come on now.
But yeah, he managed to make it here today. And please do not forget to tell your friends, to tell their friends, to subscribe on our YouTube channel, Colloquy_sessions. Please check us out on Instagram and on TikTok, Colloquy_sessions. So let us just dive right into it.
Absolutely.
So what are the implicit complexities about being a black man? Specifically black.
Where do you even start? I mean, being a black man, it's tough. It's not. It's all based on the nuances that are being generally, thrown around in the spaces that we find ourselves in. But to say complexities, I think we've separated ourselves from that, from the complexity of being black and being a man. Because the majority of us, at least within my circles, are people that have gone back to the fundamentals of what being black is.
Sure.
Separate from what being an African is, which are two separate conversations.
Yes, sure.
Sure. But being a black man and looking at the complexities that are implicit, I would have to say upbringing is one of them.
Most importantly,
black men are raised differently from one home to the next.
True. Absolutely, yeah.
Personally, I grew up in a household where I was dominated by. I've got a lot of sisters and a lot of cousins.
Female cousins.
Yeah, look.
Okay.
And they are all female. Of course.
We need the feminine energy.
So I use the term cousins relatively because I grew up with people that were cousins, but they grew up as my sisters.
Yes.
Got it.
Like with a lot of
Very common in black families.
it's common.
Yeah.
It's common within black families, but I use it relatively because I use the term cousin because I do have extended family that are my cousins who I don't relate to in the same manner. But when I talk about my sisters, I've got, how many? It's about 7, 8 sisters.
Yeah.
And these are primarily the people that I grew up with.
Sure.
So my family was very, very much female dominated. So looking at my upbringing, I was raised by a mother and a father, unlike most of my peers. I was actually having this conversation just yesterday to say my peers, a majority of them, about 60% of my peers grew up in single parent homes, either
It's shocking.
it's about 60% because when I count, I mean the closest people to me grew up in single parent homes.
True.
Very disturbing. But true.
It's a disturbing norm.
So for me, I think why I mentioned this is because 60% of them never grew up with a positive role model. So,
Sure.
male role model.
Yeah.
Specifically. I grew up with a father. I understand what small things like marriage is. It's a small thing, but I take it for granted. I understand.
It's a big thing, actually.
Look, it's implicit, like you're saying. You know, it's complex, but it's implicit.
Sure.
I've got 60% of my friends that don't know what marriage is. They don't understand. And until we grow up and start having these conversations, it's like, Actually, I didn't know. I'm like, it's something that's there.
It is.
It's something that you need to plan your finances with your wife. You need to plan those things.
You know.
And when you are speaking to them, it's like, hey, I'm not going to have this conversation with the woman. I'm like, dude,
you have to
listen to
That
me.
is very
uncomfortable
to hear.
I'm telling
say the
you,
least.
not because I'm you know, I've got proper people around me.
Sure.
But it's small things. It's small things that for me I take for granted. I mean, for goodness sake, I first generation Model C, you know, and that's my history, like with a lot of people. And when you hear these stories, it's like, yeah, I grew up in a single parent home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, mother or father. And some of them have got mothers, some of them have got fathers. The ones that grew up with their fathers do not have a positive role model in the majority because
which is
it's alarming. There's no balance. We are expected to live in a world where it's gender appropriate now, and it's like, yeah, but let's start with you and manhood.
Yeah, let's confront the elephant in the room.
Let's confront the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in an environment where the positive role model was the guy who stole the cars, and everybody wanted to be that guy.
crazy.
Yeah.
Scary.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And we need to own it.
Yes.
Sure.
It's a common thing. It's common.
It's part of the culture.
It's nothing new. And people looking at the people around me, you can almost see it. These people,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I wanna just circle back to what you were asking about what is implicit and what is a complexity. I mean, it's small things, and I'm just mentioning one.
Yes.
And there's just so many things.
Yeah.
Jeez, man, how to interact with girls in the community.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
We grew up in an era where I would say, things like understanding your sexuality was something that you even now, but you had to learn it on the streets.
Yes.
Nobody came to you and said, this is how you speak to a girl. If you want a girl's attention, this is how you speak to her. This is what you say. Do you understand? This is how you capture her attention. We all had to figure it out individually.
And
by yourself.
Yes.
More than anything, it's aggression.
And those kind of aggressions are aggressions that were a norm. It was
In
a
fact,
norm.
if it doesn't happen, then you are weird and labeled as a man.
For you literally, when they talk about twisting a person's arm, I understand the concept because we grew up in an era where if you wanted to get a girl's attention, you twist her arm, literally.
Imagine.
Because you're trying to get across to her.
And you think that's a love language.
And that's a love language.
And like that's the thing, because I can imagine approaching a girl comes with a lot of rejection. You have to expect a rejection out of that, and you have to anticipate it. Yeah. And then if you get rejected, it becomes another story.
It's amazing because I think rejection taught us a lot of things. Just understanding how you react to situations.
Yes.
It taught us a lot, but the general outlook of being a black man was that. I mean, I speak to Amakhotmane Nguti. Back then, there were people that were in the know in terms of, how to swindle a car. And you speak to these people, and it's like, no. So it's like when you have these conversations, to them, it's like, no, it was a no. Gang rape was almost a norm, not to mention any names, but it was a norm. It was a norm, and it was uncomfortable. But it's things that when we were growing up, you could have the conversation that, no, this is not right. This is not right. This is not something that you should be doing and wearing it like. And it was when we talk about having to navigate firstly your peers, navigating the norms, navigating the expectations of your parents, navigating the expectations of people of a different race who have got absolutely no idea of your background. And these are the people that were entrusted with educating us. And you're a black man. And
such a displacement.
It's a broad conversation. And you cannot pinpoint and say, no, I think this is the one.
Yeah.
This one is the one that
because there's a lot.
Can tackle because there's a lot. I mean,
so many layers to it.
Knowing that you had to go to a school with a child whose father is a mechanic, quote unquote. The mother is a shoplifter.
Sure.
But you must have a conversation with this person and you must interact.
How do you even probe
it's
that
normal.
way?
Everything is balanced. But his life and your life, né? The money that these people are getting from all of these activities. Now I'm talking about the nucleus.
Yeah.
Né? I'm talking about a person who is now, there's a mother and a father, but the dynamics are different.
Completely different.
Yeah.
You grow up and your father wants to be an accountant, but you're like, no, man.
Living
That guy's father is living the life and he doesn't care about school.
Effortlessly.
Yeah, we're not.
Why am I here?
Why are we here?
True.
Why?
True.
You understand? So, as a black man, I would say everything is implicit, but it's only in hindsight where you look back and say, wow, actually I dodged the bullet. I could have easily been in crime syndicates and doing,
Sure. Given an
easily.
opportunity.
And these are and that's why I'm saying these are the people that you grew up with.
Yeah.
As to whether they've changed their lives, it's a different story, all in all.
But the crux of it all
but
is
the
that
crux
we
of
know
it-
that.
We are around them.
And
We are very much familiar
what
with
do? I know, hey, you're not my friend anymore.
You're just. You are
It
just.
has nothing to do with
So
you.
that's what I'm saying. The complexity of it is that you need to now be able to live in a society where you have all the smartest people, accountants, actuaries, doctors,
Yeah.
people in the media space, engineers, you count it. I've got a vast network of people around me.
Yeah.
But all of these people bring something different to the table.
True.
And that's why I'm saying the complexity comes in when you are raised different and being able to find yourself fit into society.
Yeah.
According to what people perceive, but mostly what you expect of yourself.
Jesus, very poignant. that was a mouthful. But
Sorry.
but I mean, it makes sense.
It
because
does,
of
it
the,
does.
It's such a you can't fix a big problem in a day in one conversation with three words.
And
I must add to this. When they talk about it takes a village to raise a child, I
Sure does.
can
It really
look
does.
back and say, wow, actually, I mean, I grew up in a neighborhood in Kulelem, and this is my
Child
childhood.
Soweto.
No.
Shut up.
And for me, growing up, and this is my childhood, I was I think when I moved from Mzimhlophe, I was about 9.
Yeah.
But my childhood, my early childhood, was spent mostly within a community like that.
Yeah.
The displacement of what classism can do. Because it's how people perceive you. For the mere fact that this household can afford to put kids in a multiracial school,
Yeah.
just by that,
yes,
it was like, he doesn't quite belong, but he's part of the community. Yeah, that boy from that house.
But he's other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's complicated. Morally, I would say, Ekaya, it was something that was emphasized every day. Morally, you must be above reproach. Morally, because my mother's father, Umku, he was a lay minister in the Anglican Church. So you are not expected to be participating in certain things.
Sure.
yes.
Yeah.
Got a facade.
There's an expectation,
Yeah.
and you are a child. You want to experience things.
You want to be a kid.
You want to be a child.
Yeah.
It's so it's a vast, and it's an array of topics. And the more you engage about these topics, the more you will see that there are similarities. There is something common
Yes.
within peers.
Yes.
But in the same breath, people have had a completely different experience of life, and therein lies these complexities.
True. And that drives the next question, like, what is the major engine driving the concepts behind toxic masculinity? Quote unquote.
That's got nothing to do with being black. I've got alternate beliefs on the very idea of toxic masculinity, and I'm not just looking at at the societal part. Where do I even begin? So I'm of the view that our mankind's connection to divinity is through the feminine.
We are the divine energy you need.
No,
No,
where does society come from? Okay, let's not discuss society. We are born
Humanity.
of women. Humanity.
Yeah.
Women bear life.
Women bear life.
Quite literally, figuratively.
And it is an African belief. Well, just do the research. It is an African belief. Let's call it African. Let's call it. Hey man, I'm trying to run away from this African concept.
You don't have to. Just under the umbrella of masculinity.
Yeah, under the umbrella of masculinity, honestly speaking, I would say toxic masculinity is now being coined as such because of the distance that society has been pushed away from the feminine divine. And this is when you are trying to keep power, né? There are various ways that you can do it. So when you are keeping power, what happens? It's a remonstration. You are trying to attain or keep a part of what makes you better than the next person.
True.
So
True.
look, I was hoping we'd have a better engagement. I was hoping you'd have a different point of view so that we can have an engagement, because just looking at how society has been put together, right? Hey, you can't. Men are not always the most dependable people, right?
Interesting.
No. Oh man, I'm not selling out.
No, you're not.
It's an observation.
Thank you.
Sure.
It's an observation.
A fair one.
Men
That.
are not always the most dependable people to contribute. At different levels. Let me just put it out like that.
Okay.
Agreed.
Yeah. So,
Agreed.
Yes.
So, I think everybody must play a part in what they are expected to deliver.
True.
Yes. So the toxicity becomes a problem when a let's call it a previously masculine job is now being appropriated to women. That causes the imbalance now.
Okay.
Because we've got a set way of doing things. And
Do
now,
you view it as appropriation?
Yeah?
As appropriation?
It is.
Okay.
It is. Let's
And you say
think
that
about
why?
it. Let's think about it. It is appropriation. Because if we are going to talk about gender roles, it's appropriation.
It is.
Is it not an amalgamation?
Let's
Or is it wishful thinking for me?
let's talk English. Let's talk English. When we amalgamate, what are we doing?
We are not coming together.
So.
But
Yes.
We are not.
We are merging.
Yeah, that's the blackness talking English. The blackness. That's what's communicating.
I have to agree with Tabang on this one. It's not amalgamation. It is literally appropriation to say,
it's now become an appropriation.
What men can do, I can also do.
Thank you.
We are at that point.
I'm even scared to ask about feminism at this point. But
Feminism.
Well, feminism.
But what I'm saying is that this is what dismantles concepts.
Yeah.
Conversation dismantles certain concepts because
Sure.
I can't be. How I was raised, I was not raised to be a toxic man. I had an experience of life at a certain point.
I like that.
Yes.
Not
At a certain point,
man.
you are not raised like that. Nobody's raised like that. There's
True.
people that have experienced trauma. Now we're going to box everybody in and say, yeah, no, hey, no.
Toxic.
Because who experienced trauma. No. Where am I? This side. It's an expression and it's a demonstration.
Yeah.
You understand? What is a community supposed to do? And that's why you speak to people that have been involved in drugs. They say it's a community problem. It's not a individual or a family problem. Can't be a family problem because if my son or my child, say that I identify as Nyaobe in a community,
sure,
and he steals from your house, whose problem is it now?
It's ours.
It's ours.
It's ours.
Yeah.
It's a, and that's why I'm trying to combine things that might not necessarily be the same or sound alike.
Yeah.
But when you look at it with an open mind and you say to yourself, but let's talk about toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Nobody is raised to be toxic. Nobody's raised in a particular way to say, okay, let party a community. This small portion of this community, these are the toxic people.
Yeah.
You understand?
No one gives birth to a monster.
Yeah, nobody gives.
No one
We
raises
all
a monster.
Clear canvas.
Exactly.
Yeah?
So, but what influences you is what you learn, what you expose yourself to, what you're exposed to.
Yeah.
But those are the people that need help within society.
Got it.
And then those are the people that need to.
Sure.
That help can only come about if a society is able to say, okay, we have a problem of gender-based violence, for argument's sake. We've identified the problem.
Yeah.
It's gender-based. Whether a female is beating up a man or a man is beating up a female, it's
a gender problem.
It's gender-based.
It's gender-based.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So now, why are these two genders clashing or fighting, or where is the friction?
Yeah. What's the source of the
What
problem?
is the source of the
problem?
problem?
Yeah.
I can simply sit here and say, no, it's the affinity to quantify that gave rise to no, because honestly
And
speaking,
become a theoretical about it.
I can become
Sure.
very, very theoretical about it.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, you need to be able to say, okay, we have seen what the issues are within a community.
Yeah.
I can tell you now, it's very easy to sit in a group of females. Ne?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see a lot of extremists looking at me and saying, hey,
What's
well, but feminism is about this. Look, you can sit within a group of females and listen to how they demonize men.
Mm-hmm.
True. And that is what we're trying to get rid of.
And yes, you can. And I've seen it, I've witnessed it. It's been something that you are raised looking at to say, yeah, but hey, I'm not daughter Zinja.
Hectic.
This household that look openly discuss such things.
Yeah.
And you forget that small boy that's sitting over there in that corner
Is the very dog you're pitying.
is the very dog
Mm-hmm.
that you are raising.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
That guy there, you are oblivious to it, because if the matter serves a certain comfort,
Yeah.
either about yourself or about you as a group, you will easily latch onto it.
Yeah.
And
overlook the bigger picture.
And overlook the bigger picture to
Yeah.
say, no, but toxic masculinity, how best do we address issues about the toxicity?
Yes.
Because there's no
How
monster.
best?
No, look, you can go everywhere, and I'm talking everywhere within spaces. I'll tell you what the issue is. Okay, let me put it to you this way. So, I just wanted to say, in terms of another reason, let me put it like that, why men would be considered toxic, is that we live in a world where your contribution ne, is mostly based on what you've accumulated. That's how you measure yourself as somebody who's successful.
Sure.
Materialistically.
Yeah.
And materialistic success is the order of the day.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if you accumulate and you're busy putting together your wealth, you end up, to an extent, looking at people in the same light.
True.
Yes. And this is the perspective of both men and female. And therein lies the toxicity in the society, to say you will always get toxic men, because in the majority,
it's a people thing.
You earn what you keep.
Okay.
You've earned it. And if, as a man, how shall we put it? Bulobola mina.
Yeah.
It becomes an acquisition to certain people.
True.
Dowry can be a problem.
You are my property.
Dowry is a problem.
It becomes an
sometimes.
acquisition.
Yeah.
Dowry is I'm not going to go into that as a topic, but it's like,
Sure.
we need to reshape the point of it. Not reshape, revisit basically what the dowry was meant to be.
Yes.
In order
I'm talking now from what is expected of men.
I see.
So the expectation is always very few people are going to look at it and say, no, but I paid money for this woman. Yes, that's the general outlook.
It's funneled down to monetary value.
Yeah, it's funneled down to monetary value, whereas servitude is now being separated from the conversation, because in a marriage you can't, and I'm talking now in general terms, there is no society if women are not married to men. There's no society.
I like that.
No? There is no society.
Because it's true.
Because if you think about it, no? You'll get artificial insemination. There will be options.
But there's a man behind that artificial
But there's a
insemination.
man behind that artificial insemination, and there's a woman behind that. So the concept itself is that men and women are interrelated, whether you like it or
not.
Yeah.
Now, when you deal with the dynamics, it becomes more of I'm fighting against what women will generally perceive, because women themselves give rise to toxic masculinity because of what they expect of men. So if your expectation becomes he needs to provide, you are now a liability.
True.
Whoa.
Yeah, you are a liability, because if I'm feeding the monster, at some point this monster is going
growing.
It's going to grow, and it's going to get on my other side.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to remind you of the hair that I bought you.
Yeah.
I'm going to remind you of the shoes that I buy. It becomes like that. And having an understanding of how to contribute towards an interlinking, an interrelating marriage of minds, let's call it that. Having to contribute towards that. You must understand where you come in. I must understand where I come in. Because I don't expect, if we are going to say women and men it must be a 50-50 relationship. Then in a 50-50 relationship, if I'm buying a gun, I'm buying two guns.
It's about to go down.
No, I'm buying two guns. We are 50-50.
Yeah.
I'm buying two guns.
Which is
if there's a scuffle outside.
Now you're Puma.
No. We are Puma. Now I reserve the option of saying, I reserve the right to say, awubheke ukuthi kwenzakalani lapha ngaphandle. Not because I'm less of a man, but because level pegging.
But why must we then reduce it to
Kind of contradicts the toxicity. But what I'm trying to say is that we are all here to do our individual duty.
As a people.
As a people. Okay. Your individual duty is what earns you your place in the society.
Sure.
If I am a man and society says to me, well, you are going to provide for your family. I must keep myself in check. It means my circle must be correct. It means my you're looking at all the aspects. I mean, you're looking at the people that I interact with. All of that contributes to what makes me who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I can't stand and say to myself, no, but what is fair and what is not? Some people don't have that with themselves.
Yeah.
You understand? They can't balance themselves up to say, if I'm taking this course of action and I don't see any other option, then you have a problem. Because there's always another way. There's always another way. Always another way. So toxicity in society, I think, is given rise by the fact that people want to conversate from two sides of a fence. You can't always do that.
Yes.
Because something brings us together.
Yeah.
And that's literally my take on it.
Sure. Hectic. Woo. Okay, you at some point you touched base about trauma. Right? How do we ensure that we aid men that have been scorned by childhood trauma? How do we as a people, as a society, aid men that have been scorned by it? Because we spoke of background as well.
I don't think it's one side. I don't think trauma is one side. I don't think that men are the only people that experience childhood trauma. I think
we all do.
Women, especially women,
we all do.
In how society perceives people that have experienced trauma. There are some communities in the world who, and I mean even in biblical terms, any person who has been raped, any person, and that is trauma. You cannot exclude that person from participating in society.
True.
Because they do have a contribution. It's not just about men. Men are raised like that, unfortunately. If I did not experience trauma myself as a child, uphumela kanjani ngaphandle unga-understand ukuthi I could lose my life there? Uphuma kanjani without an understanding?
Sure.
Well, like for me, I think it's a difficult thing to say, but I strongly feel like certain traumas assist you in making brave decisions. They assist you.
Would you not say it is a reaction? How you act from your trauma response?
Yes. You have to be aligned in a certain way.
Yes.
Okay? But we are not all soldiers. Ne?
Yeah.
But I can tell you right now, if somebody was to walk in here, it depends how quickly we react, and it depends how we react. And that's a fact. That's a fact. I've seen how I've reacted in certain situations. I've seen how my friends have reacted in certain situations. I've seen how certain people, even police, how they react in certain situations, because you are about your wits. You understand where you are.
Yeah.
You understand the risks that are involved. So, let me not deviate. Men and trauma cannot be separated from women and trauma. We all experience trauma, and in assisting people in dealing with some of the traumas that they've experienced as young people. is to get them involved and get them speaking about their trauma.
Sure.
Get them involved in communities, because there are people who I met a person who saw her father being gunned down in their driveway.
Sure.
And the person died.
And that sticks.
It sticks.
Yeah.
They carry it, and when it comes up in conversation, you can almost see how it has affected them.
Of
Yes.
course.
It just depends how observant you are. I've experienced guys who have experienced traumas.
Yeah.
It really changes a person. In dealing with that, it's just to get those kind of people talking in the community, because some structures in communities really are meant to sort of guide people that have dealt with such things. I mean, I met people that have been raped. Speaking to those people, you know, I've met men who have been molested, and that conversation in itself is like, I don't even know how I would deal with that. I'm very curious, you know, so I probe and I'll find different ways to ask a question. You know,
Yeah.
even when I know I'll throw in a topic that will get a person to open up, just so I can get an understanding personally, because it's very difficult.
It is.
You meet old people. Childhood trauma is nothing. Old people that experience traumas, people lose their minds literally.
Yeah.
They become different people. So it's a broad topic, man. There's no one way to respond to it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's
vast.
just, yeah.
Open your mouth and say something and
Speak, gentlemen.
Speak.
Actually,
Open your mouth.
Everybody must talk.
everyone must talk. I was about to say that actually everyone must talk. Everyone must be recipient of aiding this trauma inside. And you speak of something very important by introducing conversation actively in your life. That's how you address the situation and aid therein, you know what I mean? Which brings me to my next question, that how do we create a safe environment where men can be emotionally vulnerable without judging each other?
Guys, there's no safe environment.
How do we create
But
it?
how
Of course
we need
there
to-
isn't. How do we
We
create
need to
it?
create one.
As a man, how do you create
geez.
that?
How
even
do I
in
create that?
your
Look.
personal life?
Get married. Find one person.
Indoda, bro.
Man, I had to say it.
Okay. Hit us.
Look, there are people who, I've survived most of my life without talking about the things that upset me or the things that I didn't like in my growing up. I've experienced some stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and that for me, I use it to keep me aware, to keep me sharp about certain situations.
Sure.
To create a safe environment, what do we need? What is a safe environment? What are the modalities that facilitate a safe environment? You know, trust.
Yes.
You know, and to build a trust is not something that you go to a psychologist about, or you go to you know what I'm
It's
saying?
internal work.
It's an internal issue.
Yeah.
And some people find that in spirituality, and I'm talking broad spirituality. I'm not just talking about Christianity or whatever the case may be. And spirituality, I think, is one of them. So
Yeah.
Trust, spirituality, you know, being able to sit amongst your peers, you understand, and having a more robust conversation about the things that affect us as men.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll be honest with you, men do it. Ne? At least the people that I'm around,
Sure.
they do it.
Yeah.
You know, but it does not always end in a teary-eyed manner.
It doesn't
have to.
Absolutely doesn't have to.
Yeah, but hey,
It doesn't have to.
It's
No.
It's one of those situations. But
And
men do
why
it.
is that? Why
Men do it.
Why is that? Why does it not end in tears? And I ask this because there's a sense of demasculation when
A man cries.
Because we're guys.
That's
But that's the thing. But that's the thing. You are
Because
human.
we're guys. Look,
You are human
you can't
before you are a
expect.
man.
You can't expect these polars to react the same, ne? When dealing with similar situations.
Sure.
Do you understand?
Sure.
You can't expect that because we are tuned in differently. Honestly speaking, there are common traits with male and female, but we are tuned in differently. That's why men, I'd rather laugh about my father dying than to cry about my father dying.
I cry. Why?
I'd rather laugh.
Is it a
because
coping mechanism?
It's not mostly based on coping. It's how I would like to remember this person.
And laughter is derived from the memories shared with him.
The memories shared with him, and that is me. I mean, you speak to any one of my friends, and they will give you stories about them coming to my place or whatever the case might be, and finding my dad, and the stories that come out of that. It's like, yo, your dad. I walk in and he says this to me.
Hilarious.
I'm like, dude, what did he say? He's like, yo, fun. I don't understand this guy. I mean, I've got some stories for days about him, you know? But the point that I'm trying to make is that I'd rather remember people like that from a good place than to sit and sob. And that is what I think most guys do.
They do. It's very common.
You understand?
It is very common.
And we'll share embarrassing stories about each other. Oh, this guy, you remember you pissed in your pants when this happened, and it's a joke, but it's coping to say it could have happened to anyone.
Sure.
True.
It could have happened to any person.
And by virtue of tabling it, we are saying it's okay.
And also, I think women react more from an emotional place compared to men.
Men are emotional.
But you are.
Men are emotional.
You are.
What are you talking about? We are human beings.
Emotional.
Listen, we are human beings. That is common ground. I don't care who you are.
We're human beings before we're anything.
To lose that part of yourself. Ne?
Yeah.
Hey, something traumatic must have happened. Something like
And you
extreme to find yourself wake up without purpose. I think that's the saddest death. Because looking at it, I mean, that's why I'm saying to create a safe space, you need to be able to have that. You need to be able to have a conversation with some of your friends that you wouldn't have with all of your friends.
Yes.
You understand? Yes. And I find that working for me I'm married.
Yeah.
I find that working for me in marriage, where I can have a discussion with my wife that I can't have with a friend. I can't have with my mother.
Yeah. Everyone has a purpose.
You can't have it with those people because the sensitivity of it, at the time at least, looks like something that you can't just openly discuss.
So you
you filter it, and the focus becomes a back and forth between you and this one person.
Yeah.
Where you can bounce off a better way, a better system, a better whatever it is, to be able to say, okay, fine, here's how we are going to get you out of this situation. Or here's how we are going, because guys, mental illness with black people, ne? is something that we can heal. I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
We can
Like
fix
you
it.
are mentally, you have no stability, but because we've got a certain understanding on how to deal with matters when it comes to the individual, we are able to. And you ask yourself, but this guy was not normal. And we discuss it in communities. You've seen it happen with us. When you discuss it, this guy is not alright because Garabam Lui. So
we love black science.
Black science. If Bauloil, it means there's something that we can do to get you
fix it.
out of it.
Absolutely.
To fix it.
Absolutely, because there was a hand in it. They didn't.
There was a hand in it. And that being the rationale, it means there's balance. For every, look guys, we can go on and on. But at the end of the day, I'll share my personal experience. There are things that you need to refer to a confidant and say, look, this is what's happening.
Sure.
And I keep those things separate because everything that concerns business and everything I'm doing in that front, there are certain people that I can speak to.
Yeah. Yeah.
People that I find smarter than me. People, and you need to keep a healthy count of those people.
Oh yes.
That I've got at least 10 people who are much, much smarter than I am, and I will go to them for specifically this. I have a wife. Hey man, there's this colleague who's just Ula. Hey Mzala. Hey Namuntu. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Compartmentalize things and people.
And that's what men generally do. We compartmentalize, and we know if I've got something that has to do with music, then I feel I can't just discuss this with anyone because there's a certain appeal, or there's a certain faux pas that I must carry towards other people. There's this one confidant who understands
what you're all about.
What I'm all about.
In that
that I can speak to in that space.
Yeah.
And that's why men compartmentalize these things. Because it's not always I can't come to you and say, hey man, I've been listening to Gretchen Palato and I feel like this album is, and you're like,
what is it? Yeah.
Chabang, I don't understand. Because instrumentally, the album is good.
Yeah.
It sounds great. And we have these conversations. But you want to get a point of view that says, oh, okay, this is the user experience. This being the user experience, you must speak to a user who understands what they want specifically for themselves.
Sure.
So, hey, men, safe spaces are very rare to come by, but I think men have generally been able to come up with those safe spaces because there are certain people that you speak to, and you know for a fact that with this one person, I can get what I want.
I'll be okay.
Is there something as toxic safety? Because I find men very notorious for shielding each other. In there's nothing wrong with having someone who has your back, of course, but I feel like men have finessed it so much that it's borderline
toxic. So
to say the least.
So with men, immediately when a guy is under attack, we group together. Not because of any other thing, it's because there's loyalty, and that plays a big role. I don't like to participate with these topics, especially in the social media space, because people never understand context. And you must explain.
Yes.
And now it becomes
all of that.
But with conversation, I think it's always important to put yourself in a place where you can robustly discuss issues that affect individuals.
Yeah.
Maybe within your close group. And some of us don't care to do that. But what I'm saying is that with men specifically, whenever somebody is under attack, we group together.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to ask.
Kudos to men for that, actually.
Without fail.
Yeah,
Without fail.
Yeah, we group to, and you can't help but do it because you are loyal to a person. If somebody is caught wherever and says, hey, I'm arrested, or I call whoever, I call you,
yeah,
for argument's sake, and I say, hey, I'm arrested, I'm in a foreign country, I don't know who else to call.
Yeah.
Do you understand? It means I feel you are the first person that came to mind, first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
I feel I can trust you.
Absolutely.
True.
With my livelihood, in fact.
True.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Number two, I feel, Hori, you will do what is necessary to get me out of the fix that I'm in. That's what men do. We group to, especially guys who move around in big groups and packs. Listen to me. We will come to you.
You guys are pack people.
Yeah, we are pack people, unfortunately. Because
Unfortunate?
No, look, unfortunately, because to anybody who deems themselves a victim, yeah, hey, Tabang is doing, just exactly what other men do in protecting a said individual. You understand? I don't base what I believe in on public opinion. I don't. I try not to.
Like that.
I try not to look at an issue and say, this is what the public generally thinks. You
Sure.
make up your own mind before you can. And that's why men, I won't say real men, but that's why men generally will say,
Real man.
I'm not going to wait until it hits social media, or I'm not going to wait until it hits the news.
Yeah.
I'm going to call you
Yeah.
because you are implicated in this thing. Yeah, Baba.
When's that
One's
allowed?
in shine.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
No.
And that's a rare commodity in women.
Listen,
Dude,
it's not even
not to
about
shame you, my
women.
girls.
Men, certain men don't do it anymore because they want to base. You know what, man? I'll give you another example. The court of public opinion is like one of the most damaging courts
Very.
because brands now, if you are a well-known individual and this happens to you and you are involved with the brand, it means your endorsement, your sponsorship is gone.
Affiliation.
And by affiliation, and that's the rationale, and that's why you are saying to me, what is a safe place? Without getting the facts, you can't act. You can't act on limited information. I can't walk into a place for argument's sake and go and discuss about, I don't know, what don't I have a clue about. I'll say mining for argument's sake. I can't walk into a boardroom having acquired land and discuss mining infrastructure. What am I going to talk
What
about?
are you going to say? What are you going
What am I?
to say?
Who's going to take me seriously?
Yeah.
Who's going to take? I can't go into a room and talk about, I don't know, working on a breed to make the meat more succulent. I don't know a damn thing about that. And I'm walking into the space and I'm like, yeah, no, you must eat it plastic.
Yeah.
True.
Everybody's looking at me and thinking, oh, this amateur.
True.
There's no manual. Essentially,
There's
you're
no
saying
manual.
there's no manual.
There is no manual.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to say is that with men, a majority of guys try to be accountable. Life has changed a lot.
Do you reckon?
Yes.
You think so?
My head is on the block.
Going back to, you mentioned how, in terms of creating a safe space, right? So how do you suggest we unlearn societal norms around masculinity that necessitate toxicity?
Yo.
It's a big one.
What's there to unlearn, man? Look. I think it is possible to be a man devoid of aggression, devoid
Louder.
of there are points where it becomes necessary, né? But I think it is possible to be a man away from aggression, away from toxicity, because what is toxic, I think it, when you're talking about toxic masculinity, you are tying in excessive behavior which inflicts a stereotypical outlook on a certain gender, or you understand where I'm going with it. So for you to separate masculinity and that, I think is mostly based on the individual. You cannot, I can't, for instance, be a Tabang Mukwate without being an individual first.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those are the things that in actualization and getting to understand who I am in essence, that I need to figure out that no, I can't always, there are situations to negotiate. No? There are situations to be aggressive on. I can present a different face, no? In different situations. It starts
when necessary.
It starts with the individual, no? And how you as an individual can impact your immediate circle. Because for you to change an idea, I can't go and stand in the middle of Paramore and speak generally into the public and expect everybody who is there to get the message.
True.
You need to plant a seed, and it starts with an individual.
Yeah.
I can change your mind, but I can't change everybody's mind. So
Absolutely.
I need to start simplest form. Introduce a different way of thinking with an individual. And then the individual, each one teach one, basically.
Yes.
Each one teach one.
So
Yeah.
in I'm not sure if you can create a distance between toxicity and masculinity, not masculinity, but toxicity generally in a society, because we are all sitting with a loud hailer, né? In social media profiles, and everybody projects.
Yes.
So immediately
Everybody
when I sit behind, I'm sitting at a chair, I'm sitting on my sofa, and I project, because literally that's what social media is. It amplifies your message.
Yes.
So that amplifier has gotten to a point where it now necessitates for us to coin concepts that the general society, cancel culture. It's a fairly new concept.
But it's quite
because
popular.
people sit behind and type away, no? And it's now a contest on how far can we take it.
Yeah.
True.
Do you understand? Not in the message that we are transmitting, but in how loud can we be?
And everyone wants to be loud.
That's my point. Everybody's a
There's too
celebrity.
much noise.
And that's my point. Anybody with 5,000 friends on Facebook, for argument's sake, that person can consider themselves popular. And as a result, you put something out there, potentially you've got 4,000, 5,000 people that are actually reading it. Immediately when one person clicks the share button, now it's blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So it when I look at toxic masculinity, I don't think the toxicity in all rounded is going to end because people are not asna etiquette song.
Yes.
Yeah. We don't quite understand the things that we say and the effect that they will have on other people. And that's what necessitates us coining these concepts like toxic masculinity, because when you look at the social media space, and now I'm talking specifically around that, né? And you get to understand what is so toxic about the masculine within a society.
Yeah.
Now you are starting to address the issues because it's an imposition. It's like I'm imposing ideals that men generally share amongst themselves on the society. Do you understand? If I stood here and I decided that no, I don't want to be politically correct, I'm going to call out gay people and say, yeah, but gay people are still men. So for me to fight with a gay person, I'm not fighting another woman. So gay people bring it on. Yeah. Now it's a gender against a gender.
True. It becomes.
Do you understand? Now it becomes, because I'm saying it on a public platform.
Yeah.
Toxicity I
No.
Now and it's a point of
infuriating someone.
Nah.
You actually.
I'm merely just expressing a point of view, but how it amplifies becomes a toxic masculinity.
And the delivery thereafter.
The delivery thereafter becomes, I know, pela uti, I'm a gay, and it's just a point of view. It's an individual point of view. It's an opinion. No? But how it is amplified and how it is carried forward to say, hey, this guy said this, becomes now say I categorize it because the affinity to quantify is another one.
Yeah.
So if you count
of course.
yes, numbers don't lie.
They don't. And you have to pin it down to something. It boils down to that.
Trust.
Numbers don't lie.
But I know. But what I'm saying is that as long as we live in a different time.
Sure.
Completely. I never
complex
thought,
time, in fact.
It's not complex per se, but what I'm saying is like I said before, I limit my social media interaction.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, it's easy for me to put something out there that a majority of people can latch onto.
True.
It's the easiest thing to do.
Absolutely.
It's easy to be controversial. It's easy for me to say.
And people will wag their tails.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because of, to an extent, my social standing, so toxic masculinity within that group can be tolerated.
Oh.
Or nipped.
Yeah.
Yes.
They nip it in
No,
the
lava. And you know who does that? It's the people of the opposite sex.
I do.
Yeah, but appropriate. Because by SARS.
Oh.
That's debatable. I'm not going to
No.
much to that.
No. Wait until I'm done.
Very
so it is debatable. But what I'm saying is that once I'm vindicated, regardless of what the message is, once I'm vindicated and Zen says, no, but I get where you're coming from, immediately it defies the status quo. So now he's protected because he's within a certain circle. The person that we take seriously has now vindicated him. So he's not being toxic. I know him.
Yeah.
So we can't vilify people because of familiarity?
Yes. In essence.
That's toxic.
That in itself is toxic because think about it. Think holistically about it. If a parent beats a child in a household, and the neighbor takes issue with that, and says, you can't hit your child like that. To which Tawamu Kwate responds, you will talk.
Yeah.
Before that, keep your business on your side of the fence.
Yeah.
ngisho ukufaka induku ngapha. Ne?
Yeah.
And then the other neighbor says, no, but abantwana mele vele bashawe. Now I'm vindicated. It's 2 against 1.
Yes.
It is. Because
It's 2 against 1.
Corner.
Yes, because he believes in corporal punishment. My question now becomes, where is the balance in all of that?
Exactly.
Sit a person down and talk. Use your words.
Use your words.
Use your words. We're adults. Hey?
Open your mouth.
We're adults. Which then brings me to my last question for you, is that, hypothetically speaking, if you were given an opportunity to host a men conference, an imbizo, where
Men's conference.
a clean men's conference.
Please.
There's no clean men's conference.
A men conference has been, I feel like, has been distorted in so many levels.
And it's been taken out of context.
Absolutely.
For what it really
there is
should
a
be.
distortion. If you were to organize it to alleviate toxic masculinity and narcissism, walk us through it. How does it look like?
I'm not equipped for the narcissism part.
Why not?
Look,
so
because
many masses are narcissistic, especially men.
you can't throw a blanket statement at something like that. Let me give you an example.
I would love to.
Most of the narcissists that I personally know are women.
Yes.
Do you know what's dangerous about that? Yes, they're women.
You're vilifying women. You're being interviewed by them.
Oh man, guys, it's not a personal conversation. I'm not saying Zanele, you're people.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
But I mean, by virtue of being the feminine energy I represent.
No, the feminine energy is well received. Yeah, it's very, very well received.
It's all good on this side of the fence.
It's all good on this side. But what I'm saying is that in addressing issues, okay, let me stick to the question. Let me not deviate.
Walk me through.
Yeah, let me stick to the question. So
where we are alleviating toxicity and narcissism.
It's tough. You can't convince men to accommodate a group that they feel is attacking them. You won't be able to do it.
And by that you mean an imbizo would be the attack.
You see, in conversation, it's a give and take.
Sure.
You have a conversation, and in striking a reasonable balance, it now needs to represent 2 sides of a coin.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And men in them sort of framing the picture. You can't be the picture in the frame. So in men framing the picture, they need to separate themselves from everything that is happening, and look how everything is represented.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Sure.
So when we talk about a men's conference and trying to convince men away from toxicity, what are the topics that you think we should be having?
I want to know from you.
What does it sound
What
like?
are you doing? Even if it's not in topic, but like, what are activities that, because from where I stand in the conversation at large, I feel like you have understood the art of alleviating toxicity, and that is being in conversation with people, getting to understand and probe the brain.
Look,
how do you then probe?
Like I said, I don't think I'd be able to address men and talk
That's
about.
Unfortunate, I think you can.
No, well, to address them, yes, I can, but to address them specifically around a topic, which concerns a group of people that they feel is attacking them on a masculine level. That is their identity. And when you attack an identity, we can look back. History is filled with examples.
Sure.
That
do you think they feel demasculated by the whole thing?
Generally, they would feel demasculated, because if I'm a police officer, the point is not that I am toxic. The point is that how does my line of work affect my general
Psychology.
thinking and my psychology and my outlook towards life.
True.
Yeah.
And how I treat other people.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Just looking at that example, I'm saying to myself, if you are trying to separate that person from toxicity, ne? It's either you remove them from an environment where they spend most of their time, or you address the issues that emanate from them having experienced whatever it is that they've experienced. Do you understand? And it's an individual thing. It's not a group thing. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And as individuals, you need to then come up with a structural. I mean, there's very many things that I can talk about. I can talk about your contribution within a relationship. Do you understand? How to address people with a negative outlook towards life generally.
Yeah.
Because everything that manifests in behavior has got a starting point.
True.
And that starting point is now we need to clearly define and identify where certain issues started with certain individuals. Because when we have a conversation as men, we're not talking about women. Believe it or not, we are not.
No, I absolutely believe. Yeah.
We're talking about acquisition. We're talking about money.
Sure.
We're talking about cars. We're talking about everything that can be acquired. Right? But guess what? All of this becomes now a package. Right?
To yank the other.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Do you know what I'm saying? So in me addressing, we talk about finances. Well, those are the questions that I feel we should be addressing as a group, including women.
Yeah.
Regardless of I don't want to say skin color, but regardless of the walk of life.
Sure.
Generally,
Like that.
for you to
I like
progress, for you to progress as a people, you need to be able to address your various roles and strike a balance. So whatever your role is, I mean, I'll take you back to it's a sad example, but women made guns in America, women made guns in Germany during wars.
Yeah.
It was a responsibility. It was clearly defined. You must go.
You manufacture.
You are part of manufacturing.
Yeah.
Africa, women were farmers. Farm the lands. I go and hunt. I take care of the cows. So those are clearly defined. There's no.
Women are in engines.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So there's no more lasso shaisana khona ngamakhanda.
Sure. Everybody understands that
Our
sandwich.
keeping guard, but you must remember ukuthi kuyo yonke lento eyenzayo manje sesizoassess umsebenzi wakho.
Yeah.
Uthi inkomo zonke ziphelele. Ziphelele baba, hayi ziphelele. Ingadi kuniseliwe nkosikazi, hayi kuniseliwe baba. Abantwana bondliwe mfazi, yebo. Abantwana bayisiwe esikoleni baba, yebo. And that's currency. All of this is currency. And your currency and what you bring to the table cannot now be intertwined, because I strongly believe in those dynamics, because they put people where they needed to be. You understand? So as a man, if I'm going to walk into a space and not contribute, it's the same everywhere you go. You are going to experience hostility.
Sure. Because what are you bringing to the table? Sure.
It's
Naturally
that
so.
simple. The affinity to quantify.
Sure.
So we are literally
We're off that.
programmed
Yeah.
in such a manner. No, if our calling ukunginikeza this, then what are we talking about?
It's everyone's MO. It's our
It's everybody's
modus
MO.
operandi.
So toxicity emanates from you attacking without an understanding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Probe the brain.
Probe, find out.
Yeah.
Where are women? Where are you spending most of your time, if I may ask? As women, where are you spending most of your time? you've literally separated yourself from engagement, and you've said with general society, I think
Are we
I'm
not
wrong.
caught up in what
I'm wrong.
responsibilities?
Let me tell you, I'm wrong because I'm not a woman.
You're wrong.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm wrong.
I will tell you for free.
I know
You are.
that I'm wrong, purely based on that. But
Yeah.
once you separate yourself, and you start having discussions amongst yourselves,
Yeah.
you've separated the people that these discussions are supposed to assist.
Okay, yeah.
If
I like you with that.
if you've separated yourself from us
Yeah.
and having these conversations with us, who knows what the rules are, the new rules of engagement? Nobody knows.
Are
We're all
there
sitting-
new rules of engagement?
There are, definitely. Look, currency has changed.
And who issues them? Who
Aha.
authorizes these things? Is there a
Driving
head
age.
office?
I'm trying to get it from you
We're
guys
living in
because
a-
Driving engine.
No, we're living in a cloud.
because toxic masculinity was coined by a man.
By people.
By
And
people,
that's
let's
my
say
final
people.
word. Toxic masculinity is given birth to
By
human beings.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Sure. Jokes aside, I honestly feel like there is a balance, and I don't think society is completely lost.
Sure.
I think that
You're here.
Uh,
We're here.
no, we are not lost. And all of these concepts are basically given the light of day because information is passed between people much quicker, and it's easier for people to then come up with a point of view.
Yeah.
In as much as we might not agree in that they've spent enough time evaluating the information that's presented in front of them. But people, I'd like to think we are smart enough and we're advanced enough to be able to have a robust conversation about such things and gain an understanding from each other as to how best to tackle these things. I know I didn't answer, for instance, how I would address a men's conference because, I don't speak for all men that much. I know.
Yeah.
I mostly am concerned with self-representation.
Yeah.
Which is why, like I said, I really don't participate in social media banter. And all of
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah. Self-finessing.
just getting to understand yourself, before amplifying a message that people, I don't think everybody sits in their space and thinks about the things that I personally think about.
True.
How I'd like to advance myself, because it's an ongoing thing. But just looking at the way society is, having fruitful engagements with people that I don't always
Full engagements.
I don't always engage with people I agree with, because it shows me the error of my own ways.
Yeah.
And that's growth.
I like that.
That's growth. I can't engage with echo chambers. I need you to partly I can throw in a topic that I know for a fact people will not agree to this.
Yeah.
Just to get the conversation going so that it can be thrown back at my direction to have a different understanding.
Yeah. Yeah.
As opposed to just saying, yeah, no, we all agree.
It's like looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
And you'd rather much finesse something that you know very well, which is self in this conversation,
Yes.
than to tap into something that you are oblivious about.
Do you know how much chaos happens in one person's mind?
A lot.
There's so much chaos in one person's mind. You have to think about waking up,
It's busy.
getting dressed. Go busy, Go busy.
It's a cooperation up here.
Go
What's
busy.
next?
Yeah, but, and everybody's just focused on the next. That's why I'm saying, for you to address people and try and convince them out of a misgiving when they feel generally attacked. And I'm using my personal sample group because men will tell you straight up, no, nobody is engaging, everybody is attacking. But also, for people to engage.
Food for thought.
For people to engage, you need to make yourself available for engagement.
Yes.
Brilliant.
And availability is a tough one.
Yes.
I can sit here and not be invested.
At all.
I
And not even deliver
and
per stand.
just take this conversation sideways and
Sure.
just, you know what?
Just thought everything.
You guys are just high on something. There's no such thing. And just blatantly dismiss you.
Yeah.
But statistically, we're talking about something different.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Brilliant. What an awesome conversation.
Like,
there's a lot. I mean, if anything, I think what I'm picking up from our conversation for today is that there is so much to scrape through. The grime is quite thick.
It is.
It's very thick. And it's a long way to go. And even with the long way to go, we won't really reach the destination, but we're well on our way. And because it's just an ongoing journey, we consistently are elevating things that we don't really agree with.
True.
And innovating ones that we want to implement in our lives.
And we constantly need to get into more interactive and, as Tabang said, engaging. We can talk as much as we want, but if we don't fully engage, then it's really quite
It's redundant.
It is.
Yeah.
So we should get into that.
Sure.
Actually. Thank you very much, Tabang.
Thank you guys for
It's been an awesome
We had a really nice conversation, and it's
Hope
a
I
pleasure.
didn't talk too much.
It was just enough. It was just enough. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. It's always a pleasure to have you guys. And I think from now going forward, we leave you guys with something to think about, and something to absolutely probably engage and participate with people that you love, the people around you, from the Colloquy crew and our very own guest Tabang. Adios, muchachos.
Don't forget our social media pages. It's Colloquy_sessions at YouTube, Colloquy_sessions at Instagram, Colloquy_sessions at TikTok. Thank you very much. Tell your friends to tell their friends. We love you.
Mwah.
Peace.